when one of them decides to go another direction, you're in for trouble. You've got to determine which one you're going with, and that's the condition of the theistic evolutionist. And he ordinarily ends up in the wrong field, by the way. He generally rides with the wrong horse. Now, today, there are so many that seem to be misinformed that are intelligent human beings. For instance, Liberty magazine, years ago, and I took this clipping out many years ago, and it says what, according to biblical records, is the date of the creation of the world. And you know what they given? 4004 B.C. How utterly ridiculous can you be? Who created this universe? May I say to you? God created it. Will you listen to this? This, to me, is very important to note. Here is what Life magazine had as the origin, and I'm reading now. For perhaps one half of the long span of early history, the planet Earth lay barren and lifeless under its canopy of air. The waters of its oceans rose and fell with the pulse of the sun and moon and stirred with the respiration of the winds, but in them no living thing moved. Above them the great continental platforms loom rocky and bleak, devoid of green as the landscapes of the airless moon. Then at some indeterminate point, some say 2 billion years ago, some 1.5 billion, the entity called life miraculously appeared on the surface of the deep. What form it took, what concatenation of physical circumstances brought it into being, science cannot specify, nor indeed reply with assurance to the question, what is life? All that can be said is that through some agency, certain giant molecules acquired the ability to duplicate themselves. Now, friends, are you willing to go along with that? And fact of the matter is, we have some almost ridiculous statements that have been made. I know that one of them takes the position the way man began was in some garbage can. It says, from some raw material, some prehistoric, intelligent left his garbage here. Now, that's a statement of a scientist, by the way, and that's the way that we got started. Now, some of them send us out to look at the seaweed. Some of them send us to look up the tree, at the monkey in the tree. And my friend, may I say to you, now they send us to the garbage can. May I say to you that this is getting worse and worse, is it not? I don't know about you, but I still feel that God's statement still stands up in this modern age. Here's the definition that Herbert Spencer gave. It's a very famous definition, and let me read it. He says, evolution is an integration of matter and a concomitant dissipation of motion, during which the matter passes from an indefinite, incoherent homogeneity to a definite, coherent heterogeneity, and the retained motion undergoes a parallel transformation. You turn that one around for a little while and see what you come up with, friends. I do not know about you, but today it still makes sense to read, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Who created it? God did. Created it out of nothing. When? I don't know. I have news for you. Nobody else knows. They have this record that I read just a moment ago. Some say 2 billion, some say 1 billion. And I notice now that some are moving it up maybe to 5 billion years. No one knows. I think they're all pikas. I think it was created long before that. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. May I say to you very candidly, you see, God's had eternity back of him. What do you think he's been doing in all the billions of the years of the past? Waiting for you to come on the scene and waiting for me to come on the scene? No, he's been busy. He's had this creation a long time to work with. You see, he really hasn't told us very much, has he? And I think it's rather presumptuous on this little pygmy down here to presume he knows more than he really knows about it. We just accept these majestic words of the Word of God and can say with the psalmist, when I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And Paul, writing to the Romans in Romans 1:20, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. And then the writer to the Hebrews, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God, so that things which are seen are not made of things which do appear. You have to accept that by faith, because even science can't tell you how you can take nothing and make something. God apparently did it that way. But man today cannot tell when this was created. And when you put down the account that's in Genesis, along with the other creation accounts, and most nations had it, I think most of them were perversions of the Genesis account. You take the Bible account and the Babylonian account, for instance. The tablets that give the Babylonian account, they begin with chaos. The Bible begins with cosmos. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the heavenly bodies are gods, according to the Babylonian account, and they're nothing in the world but matter, according to the Bible. And you have polytheistic theology in the Babylonian account, and you have monotheistic truth in the Bible account. And the Babylonian account is just the work of a craftsman. And in the Bible, God spoke, and it came into existence. And the Babylonian account is puerile. It's grotesque. But in the Bible, you have here the grand and solemn realities. And the Babylonian account is definitely out of harmony with known science, but not the Bible. May I say that the fact that we reject evolution, it rejects God, it rejects revelation, it denies the fall of man and the fact of sin, and it opposes the virgin birth. That's the reason that we reject it with all our being, friends, because we do not believe that it is the answer to the origin of this universe. And there's so many other things that could be said. Now, there is a third question here, not only who created and when did he create, but why did he create? And believe me, this is getting right down now to the nitty-gritty. This is important to see. Will you notice what the Word of God has to say? This universe that you and I live in today was created for His own pleasure. He saw fit to create it. He delighted in it. And you read over in the 4th chapter of Revelation, verse 11, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for Thou hast created all things, and for Thy pleasure they are and were created. Now, He created this universe because He wanted to create it. He did it for His pleasure. And you may not like the universe, but He does. He never asked me about where I wanted this little world on which I live placed in His universe. He could have put it way out yonder somewhere. But He didn't ask me that. In fact, He didn't even ask me whether I wanted to be born in Texas or not. Of course, if He'd have given me the opportunity, I would have chosen Texas. Well, He didn't. May I say to you that this universe you and I live in today was created for His pleasure. He saw fit to create. He delighted in the act. And then the second reason that He created this universe, it was for His own glory. The original creation, you remember, sang that wonderful Creator's praise when the sons of God, you remember, they sang together. That was a wonderful time. And over in the 38th chapter of the book of Job, verse 7, when the morning stars sang together and all